We are saving. All right. Thank y'all so much for your patience. Alrighty, I wagged a finger on last week or the week before and said, remember to understand that if you can hear the sound of my voice in the present right here, if you're on the video, then you're probably straight because you're coming to class. But if you're not, then we might have a little bit of turbulence. So let's make sure that we completely and totally reify what it is that we're talking about attendance-wise. So hopefully we don't have to go through this again and no one wonders like what side they're on or what's happening. This class is recorded live in my 9:30 13:11 section, which is an online on a schedule class. If for some reason your classmate has sent you a link to our section, or you're somehow watching this video asynchronously in an 11 o'clock section, or there's something else going on, the attendance that is mandatory is only in effect for our online on a schedule class, which meets 9:30 to 11 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if somehow you have watched this video in the 11 o'clock class, which is online anytime, and you say, please don't drop me, I have a family of 6 chipmunks that I am raising, and I cannot be, deported back to Andalasia and whatever it is, you're straight if you're in the 11 o'clock class. Only the 9:30 to 11 o'clock, Tuesday, Thursday, 13:11 is an online on a schedule and has to be here during the recording of this here video that we're watching. However, there are a few students on the roster in the 9:30 to 11 class that I have never seen their names and boxes in our classes here. And after every single class, a report is run to see the attendance, who logged on, when, who logged out, how long they stayed, to make sure that there is a minimum of a 60-minute commitment to this class within the 90-minute brick that is allocated. Starting in a couple of days, if it has not happened already, then the system automatically will sweep those students who have exceeded their 3 absences, again, only for the online on a schedule course that meets 9:30 to 11. If you're watching this recording in any other way besides being enrolled in that 9:30 to 11 section, then this doesn't apply to you. And I don't know exactly what's going on, or I'm getting the same question from students that aren't even in this section. They're in 13-15. They're like, hey, I heard in the street that you're dropping people for non-attendance. That is true. Well, it's not me that's dropping you, it's the system that's dropping you. But it is if you're in an online on a schedule class, as in this class, the 13-11, that's from 9:30 to 11 on Tuesdays, Thursdays. So I don't know if y'all just have cousins or best friends in other sections and you're putting forth a rumor that Professor Rain is just dropping everybody like flies. But if you are here with us today and I'm looking at your name, you are straight, you're good. All right, just make sure that you keep coming to class and you don't miss more than 3 sections. Do you have any questions or comments? Is there anything that we have attendance wise? Every name that I see here that I'm talking to and every one forehead that I see here is a regular attendee and is not in any jeopardy of being dropped or having any turbulence. Is there anybody that has any questions or comments about our attendance policy for an online on a schedule class? Anyone have anything at all? Alrighty, thank you so much. Next, we just want to move on to your quiz that's coming up on this Thursday. And Thursday, you have your nonverbal communication quiz. Remember, that is in our 5th chapter of our textbook. And also, we have a handout in the file section, and we went through all types of nonverbal communication on recaps and original caps and all sorts of information. So you can watch lectures over again. You can look at that file section handout, or you can get into the chapter to study for that one on this coming Thursday. So your nonverbal communication chapter. And then all that's left for us is that today we're going through our interpersonal communication and relationships, including theory. Questions or comments whatsoever? Anything you want to talk about? All right, I'm putting something in the chat. Just to loosen it up really, really quickly, and you can answer it via chat or you can unmute yourself and tell us really quickly before we get started with our interpersonal units recap. Okay, let's go throwback just for a little bit in case, some of us have lost that kind of youthful energy and are not still playing. What is a game or a toy or a set of toys that if it were to happen right now today, or we said, all right, y'all, we got the Legos, let's get busy, you would be so super excited to play with? So a toy or a game, and not that you would necessarily beat everybody's pants off at this game. It's not like, Squid Game. You're not going to need to fight for your life or anything, but something that just you'd be so happy to see this thing again or so happy to do. Or maybe it's something that you're currently or you are already with because on the cool, there's some Barbies around this house still. It's not really your business. But the point is, there are cool toys and games at all ages. So, what's a toy or a game that you would like to play or something that you'd be very impressed with or happy with that came back into your life today? Checkers? Okay. Good morning, Tony. All right, Hope, are you any good at checkers? You trying to see me at checkers? I'm pretty good at it. All right, so we'll see. But that's not. But are checkers youthful? Can we still play checkers as grown-ups? I think we can probably still play. Now, does anybody play chess? I never mastered it. Like I can survive, but it's not gonna be cute or fun for me. It's gonna be stressful for the whole time. All right, let's see who else has got a toy or game. Monopoly. So Tony wants to be playing for 3 days. Okay, that's fine. So Monopoly lasts so long, Tony. All right, hide and seek. All right, be careful, Brianna. It's only hide and seek and not one of those like twists. It's like hide and get in trouble once your parents get home. Okay, let's see. I was, okay, chess club. So Ethan, then you were cold then, right? Were you like a super chess master? Did it go down? And did y'all play against each other? I watched some cute movie, not the television show that everybody's excited about, but a couple years ago. I think it was maybe it was John Leguizamo that was in it that took his chess club to do cool stuff. So that seems like a fun club to be a part of. All right, anybody like play with little wrestling characters or play with dolls or interested in red light, green light, or I mean, a tree or a hole can be a toy if you're filling it up. Needs to play like role playing games, like we're construction workers, and just go out there and do it. Rihanna's also got the Bratz. That's fantastic and great. Bratz comes out with clothes with stuff for grown-ups. It says the Bratz logo on it, but they're losing money. They need to like come up with the clothes that makes you look like a Bratz doll. Like that would, hit for sure. Like they need to come out. I need a metallic, blue gray purse with holographic images on it. All right, so you won. Dang it. Okay, so yeah, you won, but the teacher would beat you. I mean, I would lose respect for my teacher if my teacher lost often. So I guess that was the teacher's role. You can play Uno. I'd be killing people in this house on Uno, like for sure. When my girls were little, and one of them even asked, like, "You're not going to let us win? Let you win? You better draw this four and then four again. Okay, you better get into this. Uno is great. We got to figure out a way to play Uno." Yeah, I was just wondering what games that y'all would still like to play or what games that you'd even teach. So if you have little ones, because it's kind of stressful to teach a child or even to teach a grown person how to play something. One of my cousins came over and was like, "Can you teach me how to play spades?" I was like, "You're 5 years too early and 10 years too late. I'm not teaching you how to do that. I have to go learn in the street and I have to figure that out." Alrighty, y'all. If you think of any other toys and games or if this at least has spurred you, all right, we got goldfish. That's one that you can excel out. Old Maid. I like that card set that had all of them in there. You could do those at the same time. That was fun. But if you're missing a card, then it's over. Okay. I was playing Speed the other day. So we were playing, my oldest daughter and I were playing Speed. And again, beating the pants off of everybody at that. Alrighty, so if you don't know how to play anything or you don't like to play stuff, then it's kind of a stress reliever. And some things like my mom plays solitaire and I never got it. Like I never got how to play it and I feel like deficient. I need to figure out how to play something with myself so I don't have to engage someone all the time. Well, this conversation about what you like to play or what you like to do thinks about the concept of doing things by rote memory, ROTE, meaning that it's kind of like reflex in your brain. You don't really have to think about it. You can kind of zone out, and it's a form of escapism. But notice that most of the games, unless you are talking about like your left hand and your right hand being different Bratz dolls and y'all are on a mission or whatever's going to happen, or it's solitaire, some of the games are the majority of games are designed to engage you interpersonally. So you're playing with someone else. So we have like a game, we have a dominoes app on the phone. So my brother and I can play dominoes without being in the same state. Every once in a while and do that. So think about the concept of engaging even asynchronously with the person and engaging that interpersonal aspect to kind of keep things going that are fun and loose instead of talking about paying bills all the time or what's going to happen with climate change and are we about to see a war happen in the next 3 days, like what's going down. So when our interpersonal unit in that chapter that begins with 13, we first in our last class learned some theory from that chapter, and especially from our handout in the file section that engaged the different reasons that we get into relationships of choice, what our definitions of relationships are, how we get someone really from the hi and goodbye stage out to a real live friendship. And so we're going to recap those things and then focus on them a little more in depth in the second handout, which talks about relationships exclusively. So firstly, we defined the concept of a relationship. We just said it's a connection between two people. And the origin story of those relationships is what communication, our speech communication scholarship in particular, is concerned with. So it's great that we're all in different relationships, and we all are. You're in a relationship with chess, for instance. You're in a relationship with practice stalls. You're in a relationship with this class. So you're in a relationship with lots of entities and people. But if we're talking about an interpersonal relationship that is truly dyadic, and remember we said that basic unit DYAD means a two-person unit that has that origin or that backstory, has a functional present, and also has the thought or an idea that there will be a future. So we'll see ourselves in our own brain. We'll imagine that we'll see this person tomorrow, or that we will continue to engage with them past this present opportunity. When we're looking at that dyadic unit of interpersonal communication, the origin of circumstance and choice is established with relationships that have the origin story of circumstances. You don't really get to choose if you're a part of it. And I had a student ask a really, really good question via email about the concept of choice. And so I wanted to elaborate upon it herein. When we talk about relationships of circumstance and your inability to choose, I use the example of you don't get to choose who your parents are. You just happen to be born to these people. You happen to be born to this generation. You happen to be born on this particular rock that spins this type of money, that speaks this type of language. And so I had a student ask, well, don't your parents choose you if they choose to have a baby or, they choose that they want to expand their family? Aren't they choosing you? Remember, they're choosing a baby. They're not choosing you in particular, as in they don't know necessarily, even if they've designed you from a physiological process and tried to align some of your psychological interests. For instance, let's say we've got a cool designer baby that they have said this baby has a very likely possibility to have blue eyes, to be at least 6'3", to come from stock of someone who graduated from Stanford and then from Yale, and then has this sort of heritage and will live in this part of the world. They could do all of that, but then you could come out of the womb and just be a curmudgeon. You could just be mean, or you could be fantastic and great and also mean, or you could be a serial killer or the president, or you could be someone that is in the Winter Olympics. We have nature, and then we also have nurture. So whereas they have picked, yes, we're going to have a baby, and even we can maybe refine some of the details about this baby, they still are not going to be able even to know all of the time what nurture they will put into your personality to make you the you that you are. So it is still a little bit of a non-choice activity. Okay, so some people have the ability to say, which in my culture at least is very unfortunate, and I lament it on a personal level, but that's your own thought process about this. Let's say that you find out that you're having a baby that is going to have a difference of ability that makes compatibility with life difficult. So think about a major difference of ability, of mobility or respiratory system or breath, or is going to have a really, really hard and painful life if the baby is born. And then some people will say, I have a choice now. Okay, so I had a choice of whether to have a baby. Now I know that this baby is going to be suffering, so I will decide whether we're going to have this baby and try to allocate it the best care possible, or we will remit the baby to the souls and decide not to put the baby that would be born through this immense pain. So we have circumstances that happen, but then we also have choices lots of times that can be made in face of those circumstances. So we want to engage that, yes, it is true, as the student's question asks, that circumstance and choice can be a lot closer than what it is that we realize, and that even in completely and totally planned choices, circumstantial things can happen on top of them that changes the really situation of the relationship, but it still doesn't take back history. It doesn't change its origin. For example, let's say that in your relationship of choice, or excuse me, in a relationship of circumstance, your family happens to move to a different neighborhood. You're not paying the mortgage, you didn't pick out the house, you don't have a choice whatsoever but to move with your family by law. You have to still live with them. You live with their family, and you just happen to live in whatever this particular house is. So if the boy next door comes over and knocks on your door and says, "Hey, do you want to play goldfish with me? Or I got these Bratz dolls, do you want to play? Or do you know how to play chess?" You can decide right then in a relationship of choice. Sure, I'll go outside and play with him, or no, I don't even know you. I didn't come to live next to you on purpose. It's just circumstantially that we happen to be neighbors. So no, I don't think we have to engage in any sort of relationship at all. So it started out as a relationship of circumstance. That little boy didn't get to choose whether you moved next door to him. You didn't get to choose whether you move next door to that person. But then you can choose to have a relationship or not. So a not choice is still a choice. If you say, nope, I'm not going to answer the door, I'm not going to engage, you've chosen not to engage that person. So our origin of relationships, circumstance or choice, as we say, can have some kind of gray areas or some fuzz, but usually we're talking about relationships of circumstance as in location, kinship, birthright, biology. So these are relationships that you don't get to pick. And the relationship of choice include things such as affinity. So you happen to like this person, or even convenience. So because this person lives next door, you need someone to talk to or walk to the store with. So you're going to become friendly with this person. And then we can switch things around. So because, as we gave in the previous example, this person is by circumstance your neighbor, then by choice, you can be friendly with them. Or because this person is your friend by choice, you can say, well, I need a new roommate, so why don't I move in with my friend? Okay, and that creates the circumstance of roommates, but you've chosen that friend and you've chosen to make that thing circumstantially the same address. We also talk about relationships further in really the next unit that we'll cover in types of relationships, such as are they designed for rewards, meaning do you think you're going to get something out of this relationship in particular? Are they short term? Are they for longevity, where I like all of you fine people and I'm so happy to see you every morning, but after the final examination, I don't expect you to keep coming to this class because it won't exist. You can come to another class I teach. I would love to see you again, but this one has a finite parameter on the amount of interaction that we'll have. And some people don't realize that friendships do as well, that sometimes there is a season for them, that as long as you work at this place or you have this particular level, or you are involved in these similar activities, then you'll have a greater friendship. And then as those things kind of wean or wane into different paradigms, then you'll have a different look for that friendship. But doesn't mean that you have to use the idiomatic expression fallen out or had any sort of disruption. It doesn't mean that there's love lost or that you don't care for each other anymore. It just means the circumstance of the season has likely changed, that your bond will not look the same as it did at the very beginning. So we develop relationship types and all sorts of terms of very particular windows. So think about the concept of someone that says, oh yes, I'm still friends with all of my original clique, all of my original group of friends from high school. And another person will say, really, I don't talk to any of those people in high school anymore. Well, it looked a little different. Okay, so it looked a little different based on the time that you went to high school and the time that this other person went to high school. The type of friends that you were in high school maybe have been different even then in school than they would have been for this other person. So if we don't start out the same, then it makes perfect sense that we're not going to end up the same either. So everybody's relationship is particular and unique. And it's one of those things when people say something such as, do parents have favorite children? And that's a scary question to ask. Okay, if someone knows that their parent had a favorite child, or they felt as if they were disenfranchised, or someone liked someone else differently. And when we test these things and we even go over them longitudinally and we poll everybody in the family in a content analysis and qualitative data and even ethnography, what we find out in speech communication is usually, even if a parent would be bold enough to say, or ugly enough to say, oh yeah, I've got a favorite kid, I like that one and I don't like that one as much, then it manifests in ways that just shows a difference in type of communication preference, and not so much I love this child more, I like them more, but but just it's easier for me to get information from this child, or the child wants to spend more time with me, or the child appears to listen to what I'm saying and do what I'm asking, this child to do. And so it's mostly like a power and communication manifestation, and not so much really a heartfelt, I like this one more than the other one, but is this one easier for me to get along with than the other child, or whatever it is? So we're looking at relationships kind of the same way. What feels easier, what feels rougher. And when we go through the different theory, and remember we said that we're just on theories, it doesn't mean that this thing is a proof, or that it is 100%, because likely we'll find exceptions for these. We find out about what our motivations are to get into relationships of choice, sort of the trajectory of how relationships form, and we'll learn today about how they dissolve as well. So we went through the interpersonal needs theory on last class. And let me give you the guns for this one again. It's on the handout. This is interpersonal communication theories. Firstly, do you have any questions or comments about our just preamble of types of relationships, origin stories, and whatnot? Does anyone have anything concerning those types of relationships, or anything that we just discussed, or any contribution about the relationships that y'all have? Ready? And you could unmute yourself or put in the chat. So in our interpersonal needs theory, we discussed three major reasons that a person will want to enter a relationship of choice. Thank you. And those are inclusion, affection, and control. And we said inclusion, that we just want to be paired off, so we don't want to be left out if we feel like it's kind of the time in life that everyone else has a partner in some way. So we want to be included, or we want to have somebody to hang out with, our own selves. So some people get into, as mentioned earlier, relationships of convenience. They will say, I am a proponent of the patriarchy, and I need somebody in the world to wake me up in the morning and cook me some breakfast and tell me, that it's time for me to go to work. And that person needs like a mom or a boss, essentially, or some, employee. But then we can also have relationships of convenience that will say, I really want someone that I would love, or that I would like very much, or have feelings of affinity towards. But I also want to buy that person a Maserati and take them to Dubai, and we want to go traveling, and I want to do all this stuff with this person. It's like, sign me up. Cool, let's do that. All right, so when we're thinking about being partnered up for convenience, we need someone in this country. We need someone that wants to go traveling. We need someone that is going to help us to raise all these, 6 chipmunks that we're raising, or whatever it is. So we need someone, but then also we just need that one. We just need to be paired up with that person. And we have in our brains that we're discussing on a connotative level a lot. As soon as we say the word relationship, a romantic interest relationship, but also think about a best friendship, or a significant other, or a life partner that is not romantic in orientation. That is just a friend. Okay, so you need a best friend. I need somebody to gossip with. I need somebody to tell me what's going on in the show that I don't watch, but I still want to know what's going on with it so I can keep up. You need a person to tell you what's in fashion or not. You need a person to, live vicariously through, to tell you about their Maserati and their trips to Dubai, or whatever it is. So think about inclusion as being, brought into a community in a certain way. Because sometimes when you gain a friend, you don't just gain that one friend, but you also gain sort of a situation. You gain that friend's family members or other friends that have interest. You gain a new hobby or an adventure to go on. You gain, I have like a whole set of puppies that aren't my puppies. Like I have my own dog, that's a family member here, but then I've got like, nieces and nephews that are my best friends' pets that you can go and kick it with, and that can come visit, and all sorts of stuff. So you have like different stuff that comes along with that inclusion as well. So inclusion, or just having a set of, friendship possibilities, is one motivation. And then we have the concept of affection, that we want to feel as if people like us, and we want to feel as if people want to be liked by us. I'll say, so the concept of kind of being flattered, like, oh, you're the smart one, or you're always the one that, tells us the directions that we're supposed to be going in, even when the GPS goes down, or this person's got the hookup, they always have tickets to the party, or whatever this thing is. And it's like, okay, you have roles in your relationship, and you want to be liked for doing something, for having that point of knowledge, or for being able to contribute whatever that thing is. You kind of want to keep up. But understand that some people are toxic. Have you ever heard that a person or a relationship itself can be toxic? And that's really an idiomatic expression. We don't really think that this person is noxious and is going to, as soon as you touch their skin, have acidic qualities or any of those things. But when we say that a person is toxic, we are thinking about really making it an allegory to a person that doesn't have good intentions or is malicious in some way or causes some sort of turbulence or problems in your life by virtue of you being in community or relationship with this person. But understand that some people like that. Let me ask you in the chat really quickly, and you can unmute yourself, and I hope you do. I hope there is tea to spill on this morning. You can tell us about it. But let's ask you in the chat too. Okay, so in the chat, I've asked, have you ever met a person that seems to thrive off of the concept of drama and problems? This person always has something going on. If there is nothing wrong, the person seems to invent something wrong. Have you ever seen anybody besides DJ Khaled that invents haters out of space? That is just like, oh yeah, they don't want us to win. They hate us as soon as we walk in. Look, they're all staring at us. They hate our guts. It's us against the world. And you're looking around like, who is mad? We just walked in here. They handed us a napkin and we're sitting down, we're eating. It's like, oh yeah, they can't keep up with us. And it's like they kind of have this persona that even the smallest thing are like, well, he got me some stuff for Valentine's Day. Oh, that's cool. That's great. Yeah, but it was like at 6 p.m. So like all the good stuff was gone. So I think these flowers are going to die pretty soon. What now? He got you something, but the flowers aren't fresh enough? I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, I would think you would think of something like that. Like, how long are they actually going to last? You're like, ew, okay. So it's not the thought that counts. All right. So I hope that y'all are typing an entire magnum opus right here, or you're about to unmute yourself. Have you ever met a person that seems to like drama or like to have enemies? Anyone met this person before? Because if not, I can give you her number. She's at the house right now. Not my house, but, at her house right now. So, anybody, what can you tell me? Unmute yourself or put in the chat.
Friend was like,
I'm having trouble hearing you. What do you say? What were you saying, Frank?
I was just like saying that like I have friends that keeping like he's already married, and then so what happens? His wife was saying every day, like every 100 day, his wife going to, hey, this is our like after wedding of this year of 100 day anniversary, so have to get her something order for her to be just keeping happy, but on the meantime her wife doesn't even work, doesn't pay. All the laundry was still him. Yeah, and
Hey, that's messed up. Okay, especially when we're doing 100 days, because the anniversary, that's a year, that's 365. So she's getting 3 shots at flowers, 3 shots at cool stuff, and not even, I don't know. Like, working is a big deal. Like, people have some real feelings on whether people should work or not. And I'm sorry that's going on like that. Just thinking that messiness is messy however it comes out, so that's a rough one. All right, so if you think of someone, I didn't mean to put you in a bad mood. First, I invited you to think about cool toys this morning, and now I'm thinking about hater one. So I apologize for putting that in your life, that you're thinking about someone that wants to have, problems all of the time. But understand that that's a relationship type too. So when we were saying affinity or feeling of likingness, then there's enmity that we discussed on last class, that you can want to have an enemy, and that you can want to have the concept of someone mad at you, or you could want to be in competition with them, because that's usually what happens, is that people just want really an imaginary person to feel as if they're competing against. So if I'm competing, I'm winning, so I want it to be like a sort of a winning situation. So we have to kind of be careful about those people that want to like me to you or compare all the time. So how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing really good in speech. I think I have an A in that class. Fantastic. I have an A plus in my speech class. Like, oh, that's great. Cool. And then I'm going to go to the store. Me too. I'm going to two stores. Okay, that's great. Good for you. And then I'm going to call my mom. Did you know I have four moms? I'm calling all of them and they're all rich. Like, wow, you're really out here stunning. That's what you're doing. So think about people that want to be locked into a relationship kind of to feel better or to be competing as well. And that's the same thing, unfortunately. It all comes from the same base of wanting to be kind of in affection or the lack of affection, that they want to feel as if someone's being abrasive with them so they can be kind of like, woe is me, or this thing is going so wrong and I just want to complain about, how wrong this thing is going all the time. And then lastly, the concept of control, and we made sure that we explained that denotatively, that to control just means to alter or change, and the connotation sounds like it's coercion or strong arming, but really what we're getting to is even the concept of getting a second opinion or having someone to vote on what it is that we eat or that we play, or if we excise this toxic person out of our life, but that it's not just you anymore, that we have a sense of belongingness, like we learned about in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so we feel as if we have a partner in this world that we want to think of this person too when we are doing things. So control means that you have decided or chosen that someone else's personality, opinion, their life will impact the decisions that you make in your life as well. So could I do this thing? Could I go and climb, this mountain? I could do that, but is it going to be safe if, something happens to me for my kids, or do I have enough time to take off work because I have this mortgage to pay for this person who, even though we've been married 100 days, is still not going to work, or whatever it is, So I'm thinking about this other person as well. Questions or comments about the interpersonal needs theory? Anyone have anything? Affection, inclusion, and control, the three major motivators for getting into a relationship of choice. Anyone have anything? All right, next we move to what we learned is called the social penetration theory. And we had another savvy student that mentioned it kind of reminds me about how life is created when we're looking at penetration itself. And don't get gross on me this morning. We're talking about how there are many, many topics and many, many people on the breath level, on the outside circle of that social penetration theory. But then on the depth level, only one or a few people really get in to penetrate or to get through that breath level into the level where there's a whole bunch of self-disclosure. And it is true. So if we're thinking about the origin story of your life together, you and this other person, then most normatively that person stood on the outside or the breath level of just hi and goodbye with you. And then over time, eventually you shared enough about one another, which is called self-disclosure, that you ended up being friends. Okay. Or you ended up telling that person really the deep, dark secrets. One thing about that figure, and remember, we can look at it in chapter 13, and we said that it kind of looks like a donut, whereas the whole of the donut is called the depth level, and that's the intimate thoughts that you have in your schema, all the stuff that's highly personal and intrapersonal that not every person in the world can just look at a database and find out about you. Yes, they know that you wear glasses, but do they know your prescription? Do they know you have astigmatism? Do they know this is your third pair in 2 years because you always lose them? So they don't know that kind of stuff. They can know the stuff that you can Google easily. Yes, this person wears glasses. I see a picture of him, but not that, what your relationship to your glasses is. That information is only contained in the depth level. And maybe you can even intuit some things about your friend when you're in that level that they cannot see. And so not in this section, but in 1318, we employ a theory called Johari's window, and it talks to us about open things that you know about yourself. So things that you know and everybody knows, hidden things, stuff that you know about you that you don't share with others. We have things that intersect that no one knows, so they're completely and totally closed off. So you don't know it and the other person doesn't know it either. That's called the unknown section. And then we have things that you're blind to, so that other people can infer and that know about you, but you don't know. So think about you're talking and you're in front of a group of people, and you have your very close friends with you, and they're sitting there, and then you have some work friends, and you say out loud, you say, well, you know me, I'm not one that's ever going to cut anyone off or interrupt what they have to say. And then your work friends are kind of nodding, but then your really close home friends are like, you don't what? I was like, I'm saying I don't cut anybody off when they talk right out. You don't cut anybody off? Like, you cut people off constantly. You're always cross-talking us. You're always cutting people off. And you're like, I do that? Yeah, you do that. Okay, so you do that sometimes. And so your people in the depth level can know what it is that you reflect, or what that impression is that you have, and maybe you don't know that those things. But then the breadth level, that's the outside of that donut, that's where the glaze is. So that big circle that's on the outside, those are all the people that you'll ever bump into, that some of us will counter into the hundreds of thousands of people sometimes. But at the very minimal, you're going to run into hundreds, if not thousands, of people in your life that you're going to say one word to, or that you're just going to wave too quickly, or blink past, or do something, and you will never connect with those people again outside of those spaces. And then sometimes a person just wears on you. So you notice that you wave to this person, and then you saw them again somewhere else, and you're like, hey, are you following me? I think I just saw you at the Kroger. I did. I'm looking for, culantro, which is different than cilantro, and I don't see it here. Well, you know what? Have you tried 99 Ranch? They might have this thing, and you start talking to them, and then you're exchanging recipes, and now you see this person on Facebook, and here they are at the baby shower, and now they're at your monster truck rally, and guess what? Y'all are best friends. All right. So things can progress. And as they progress, it's usually self disclosure that we say is the vehicle, or the way, the instrument that allows a person to tell things about themselves. And this person is telling things about themselves, and you're meeting at this understanding. So you know things about this person that other people do not know, and this person knows stuff about you that other people do not know. We said that you can feed this or you can starve it. If someone has betrayed you, for instance, and told your business or gossiped about you, then you cannot tell them anything else going forward. Sometimes you can confront them exactly and tell them, say, hey, why did you tell this person this? And y'all, as a gossip, let me tell you, that hurts. You have hurt yourself when that happens. I have been caught up before when I said, okay, don't say anything. I know that we're supposed to be going on this trip, but don't mention it because it looks like she's going to be losing her job and she doesn't want anybody to know. But I don't want to make her feel awkward. So please don't mention anything about the trip while she's here. It's like, okay. And then the person slips and mentions something about the trip and says, oh, I'm sorry. I know I wasn't supposed to mention it with, like, your job thing going on. And then your friend says, you told her? It wasn't me. I didn't tell her, but you're the only one I told. It was me. I told her I'm horrible. It's awful. I did it benevolently. I was trying to help you out. Yes, but you betrayed that person. You told them that you're not going to tell that thing about their business, and you did. And it feels awful. Even if you think in your brain you're doing it from a benevolent place, when it is that you tell someone's business, it really it puts the relationship, in disrepair, and it's hard to forge that trust again, that that person will be able to tell you something in confidence and you not spill it. And you should know that about your own self. So you should know about you, how privatized your information has to be in order for you to feel as if you're not being betrayed. And you should also know what we call in my culture as an old idiomatic expression, if you can hold cold water, if anyone's ever heard that one, meaning, can you keep that secret? And so I have to tell students, as a mandatory reporter, sometimes a student will give me the whole life story trying to get an extension for a paper that's due, or a speech, and will say, my grandmother is really sick, and then I was on the street for a minute, and I had to, I was in the life, and I had to deal for myself, and I will have to say, I want to hear your story, and I want to be able to help, but I want you to understand right now that by law, my role is that if you are in any sort of physiological danger, or if I fear that you're going to hurt yourself or have any suicidal ideation, that I have to report that. Okay, that I have to make sure to keep you safe. So I'm going to stop you now. I want to hear what you have to say, but I don't want you to feel betrayed if I have to relay this to someone else in order to keep you safe. And this sounds like really rigid in a technological process, like there's a form and everything. If we're in a formalized relationship, such as professor and student, but even amongst your friends, if there's gossip that's way too juicy, you can tell that person instantly. I'm going to tell you about Tina, but don't tell anyone else. Please don't tell me. I'm no good. Okay. I'm no good at all. I'm going to want to keep this secret, but I know that I'm going to have a beverage and we're going to be at the party, and I'm not going to be able to be responsible for this information anymore. So it's kind of insurance for your friendship to make sure that you're not the one that breaks up the club by, saying something that's out of turn, because gossip can hurt relationships in that way, especially when we're talking about self-disclosures, which are the guiding principle of our social penetration theory, that the way that we forge bonds and friendships are by telling people things about us, but lots of that information is privatized. Alrighty, so let's have an argument really quickly, and y'all have not really super wanted to talk to me on this morning yet, but hopefully this will be one that will spur you just a little bit, or you can tell me in the chat as well. We're talking about best friends versus romantic partners. The question in the chat is, when we are discussing romantic partners versus best friends that are platonic in orientation, regardless of gender presentation of either of these people, can we exchange information from one person to another? Meaning to us, if your romantic partner says, okay, this thing is going on, but please don't go and tell her. Don't go tell your best friend that because I don't want to hear it again. And I don't want her looking at me stupid. So don't say that. I have had a friend in this world that says, if you tell me, you're telling my romantic partner. We're one person, we got married, and now everything that you tell to me, you're automatically telling to this person. And then I have friends in my life and people in my life that says, that is, I like him, he's cool, you're married for 100 years, but not everything is his business. If you, as my best friend, tell me, don't tell him, then I'm not going to tell him. I might even tell him a scraped up version of it. I might even say, hey, she's got some business that I cannot tell you, but what I can tell you about it, compartmentalizing it, is no one's going to catch a felony. It's not anything that's creepy that's coming into our house. And as soon as I can tell you something more, then I will try to do that. All right. So do you keep secrets for your best friend from your romantic partner, or do you consider that anything that is available to you is also available information wise to your romantic partner? What do y'all think?
I guess for me, it depends on like the topic and how like how important it is to that person to keep it a secret.
Okay, let's make it super important, Damien. Let's make it like, let's make this person be involved in like a crime or something. And if it should get out, then this person has to go away. Am I keeping that secret as a romantic partner, or do I still tell my romantic partner?
Well, if it's like criminal, I'd probably tell my partner.
You would tell. Okay, so now we know. Don't tell Damien if you're marking stuff different at the Walmart at the self checkout. Okay, because Damien's gonna give it up. I'm messing with you. But okay, so yeah, I have a serious.
Okay. For me, I think that I try um, to respect boundaries, no matter what. Best friend is different. Romantic is different level. So uh, it depends on the sick information. Some information best kept within a particular circle. So it might be the best friend circle. So those information I try to keep it within a circle. So on the romantic part, I try to keep this romantic information strictly romantic within that circle because they don't really mix because they're just in different levels. Best friends and romantic partners definitely like different levels. So you might want to cross over information from this side to the other side. It might end up hurting the relationship, not being so good. So I try to keep stuff where it should be. Best friend stuff, I keep it within the best friend circle. The romantic stuff, I try to keep it within the romantic circle. Thank you.
Got it. Okay, and what about the opposite? So what do y'all think about like the romantic partner? So the romantic partner, this person doesn't even say, don't tell anybody, but you know this information is kind of embarrassing or is something that the romantic partner would not want the crew to know about. Would you still tell it to your best friend even because you just need somebody to talk to? Like, would you tell the best friend, like, I know this, do not say this out loud because they're not going to like it at all, but I just got to talk to you about this thing. Would you trust the best friend not to say anything about it or bring it up again? Or would you not tell them? Would you just put it like in your journal or whatever? Because y'all are telling on the best friends straight up. Okay, so it looks like the consensus minus Tony is, yeah, best friends business is definitely going to the romantic partner. But will the romantic partner's business make it to the best friend? What do y'all think? And some of y'all are like, y'all have romantic partners? You do. Let's see. Okay, so Frank says just leave it like that, not say anything. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything at all. No, sometimes it's sitting in my throat and I got to get it out. I'm like, you're not going to believe what he did yesterday. I said, we need to get this trash out. And he said, we sure do. And then asked if he wanted me to open the door for me to take it out. And I was like, yeah, okay, got it. I sure will. And then I pushed him out the door. No, I'm messing. All right, so y'all, so I want you to think about the concept of what transgression is in a relationship, or what is betrayal, and how if we're part of multi-relationships that have overlap. So if you're part of this relationship with your mom, this relationship with your dad, this relationship with each one of your siblings, they're in relationship with one another, how you have to negotiate all of those things at a time, like in a family. But we do this in friendship levels too. So you have your main best friend. Okay, so I have a group of friends that has sets of best friends in them, and then close relationships within them. So this is my best friend, that's that person's best friend. They used to be roommates. These two have a business together. This one, and everyone is kind of feeding into those orbits. So how do we determine, whose rights really trump the other in terms of information and betrayal of information release? All right, so you have to think about those kind of things. So social penetration theory, 2 levels: breath level on the outside, the big part of the donut, depth level on the inside. And what gets a person from the breath level to the depth level to penetrate that schematic information is self-disclosure. And we said you can starve a person that same way by not giving them your information and kicking them out to the outer bands of the breath level, so they have no new information on your life or what it is that's going on. Questions or comments whatsoever as you complete that handout on the interpersonal communication theories. Alrighty, now we're moving to the files section and sharing a screen to look at the handout that's on relationships in particular. Okay, and this one was acting weird this morning, so please do let me know if you can see when it comes up the relationship study guide. It should have a red and a green stair step. On my view, it says that you can see it, so I hope this is true for you as well. So tell me if you cannot. So you don't have to tell me if you can see it. You're just telling me if you can't see it. All righty. So we're looking at interpersonal relationships. We're talking about stages of coming together and coming apart. And on last class, when we gave sort of the preview of it, I gave you the guns in understanding what the titles were of each one of these segments, and then what sort of stuff happens within that version or within that stair step. And the reason that we put this in a figural depiction of stair steps is to show not only that we're progressing or going up sort of a ladder or a chain of social experiences, and then unfortunately sometimes, if it is unfortunate, when the relationship is going through what we call disillusion, we're going down them. It's also to help you to understand that we can have 2 people that are in the same relationship that could be standing on 2 different steps at a time. All right, so we can have one person, for instance, that believes that they're standing on initiation, that they're just trying to get to know this person just by visuals. They're just trying to collect information. They haven't even really engaged with them. They haven't talked to this person yet. And then we have the other person that's in that relationship that feels as if they're on experimentation because, yeah, we totally did talk to each other. Remember, we were standing next to each other on the bus and you said, wow, it looks like it's going to rain. And then I said, yeah, I think it is. And we kind of locked eyes and we felt a moment. So there is one person in the relationship that's kind of like gathering more from this thing at this time. And the other person doesn't even realize, or is kind of aloof on whatever that connection is that the other person seems to be feeling. So not only can we go up and go down, but we can do this on one side of the stair step as well. So let's say that we start initiating, we make it all the way to integration, which we'll cover in a minute. And then we kind of have to go back down the steps a little bit because something was incomplete. We didn't get it together correctly. And we're not starting over entirely. We're not getting off the stairs, but we have to go back and remediate something. So it should become a little bit clearer sooner. Do you have any questions or comments before we start talking about relationship development and dissolution? Anyone have anything at all? All right, the first part of this unit talks to us about why, and remember in the interpersonal needs theory, we get into relationships of choice in the first place: inclusion, affection, and control. But now that we know that we want a partner, whether it's a romantic partner or a best friendship, we want to find out what sort of the human indices, or we can use indicators of performance are when we're looking for a relationship partner. Do we want someone that's ugly, straight up? Do we want someone that's pretty aesthetically? Do we want someone that has a lot of money? Do we want a best friend that lives close to us? Do we want someone that's very, very far away in a country that we're enamored with so we can learn a little bit about that language? So what are we looking for? And then some people will say, I'm not looking for anything. I don't even know how I became friends with this person. They just like showed up in my life and now here I am. We're best friends. Some people say they were not looking, they were too young to have made sort of a list of who they're looking for. But what we mostly have as humans, whether we're 2 years old, 22 years old, because what's today, our 22 day, so like cool cosmic stuff can happen to us. But so when we're looking at, things that unite us, whether we're young or old or somewhere in the middle, is that at the very least, we have a list of don'ts. So we have a list of, I don't want a person who is doing this, or I don't want a person who is doing that. So you may not have a list that says, I want a friend who speaks this language, dresses this way, attends these type of parties, and makes these types of grades. We at the very least have I don't want a person who is going to take all of my money. I don't want a person that's rude to me. I don't want a person that steals my stuff. I don't want a person that has flex with my, other friends. I don't want a person that this. So when we're going through our very first thought about it, or how we initiate, we kind of need to get that step noted before we even go further with what we are looking for. So understand, in our first step of relationship development, it's called initiating, or initiation, to put it in noun form. And it talks about public information really being known to each other and looking at the social norms of this person. So we're looking at if this person is in, let's say, a dining setting. Do they have good table manners? We're looking at if this person seems polite to others. Are they waiting their turn? Are they wearing a t-shirt from a band that you like? Does it seem like they show up to class on time? Is there anything that's repulsive about this person? I mean, is there anything that's a no or a don't that's pushing you away from continuing to even observe this person? So if this person is rowdy or rude or loud in a way that you dislike, or doesn't seem to speak your same language, or has, like some sort of turbulence, then you'll probably be like, that's that person over there, and you'll just leave it alone. But as long as there's not like a big stop sign that says this person is, argumentative, antagonistic, or that, is not going to be open to the concept of a friendship, they'll probably just be nosy a little bit, just looking around at what this person is doing. When we jump down to our theories at the bottom here, you'll notice one of them, or two of them, that we're going to spend a good amount of time on are uncertainty reduction theory and uncertainty reduction management theory. And uncertainty reduction theory is kind of the catch-all theory that is the basis of all speech communication. It says to us that the point of human communication is for humans to feel certain, or to feel as if they're positioned correctly to get the outcome that they want to have. And if not, then they'll recalibrate. So uncertainty reduction theory says to us that we are, as human animals, nosy. So we are going to nose around, which is an idiomatic expression to say we're going to observe things. We're going to pick up a piece of paper, see what it is. When you're standing in a long line, has it ever happened to you that you're like, how long does it go? Or are there more registers open? So we'll step out of the line to see what it seems like our, amount of moments that will be there will be. We are trying to find out the truth about things, but understand that certainty is a sentiment. It is not really an official fact or finality. This means in order for us to feel certain, we just have to agree with our own brains and our schema that this thing makes sense to us. For example, if we have an alarm in our house, and I dealt with that right before class started, my alarm went off and I was like, well, this is it. This is the big one. It's over for me. Okay, so my alarm went off in my house. So if you have an alarm, the alarm doesn't physically prevent anyone from coming into your house unless it is connected to like alligators in the moat with, lasers and snipers on top of the roof. But it really makes you feel better. Okay, so it gives you a sense of certainty that there will be at least something that will try to stave off in any insurgent or someone that comes into your house, either by the sign that says the alarm or the sound of the alarm, or knowing that after the alarm that the law enforcement will be engaged or something happens. So it just makes you feel better. It doesn't actually make a physical barrier to someone coming into your house. So when we're reducing uncertainty, we just want to feel differently about it. And uncertainty reduction management theory says that people go about these things different ways. So there's passive and active ways that we can collect information about other people in relationships, or that we can make safeguards against the feeling of uncertainty. So let's say in initiation, you see a person and you see them for 3 of your classes that you have. So you're only taking 5 and you see that person in 3 classes. Then you can start making some assumptions. You're like, okay, well, this person must be a freshman like me, and they probably registered at around the same time since these are the only classes that were open. And since 2 of these classes are speech, then maybe this person's a comm major too. Maybe they're going to go to the new comm program that's at the Valente School at U of H. I should talk to them and see if maybe we're in the same program. Now, you kind of projected and made all of those things up. You made all those assumptions that were drawing conclusions from how this person is registered, what may be happening, what's going on. And you could be dead wrong about every single one of those guesses. But you making those guesses allows you to continue on to try to seek out some sort of communication with this person. So if you did not have that, those other 27 people that were in your classes that weren't in 2 other of your classes, and they weren't speech communication, and they didn't seem to be on the same track, those things weren't attractive to you. Those things didn't catch your attention and didn't make you think more about them. So here it's not even about the person so much, but the circumstance that the person might be involved in that has you wanting to seek out more information. So that initiation phase is largely passive. As we said, we have passive ways and active ways. For uncertainty reduction, management theory, if we were direct and weird, like your professor, as soon as you saw that person had 3 classes with you, you would go right up to them and you would say, hey, excuse me, my name is, Professor Rayner. I have these 3 classes and I'm a comm major that's going to transfer to U of H. And I noticed that you, and I don't mean to be a stalker, but I saw that you have 2 of the same classes besides this one as me. Are you a comm major too? And if not, if I'm bothering you, sorry. All right, so you go right up if you're active and direct and ask that person what you're doing in this class and if we have a similar interest in what's going on with it. But if you're passive, then you would kind of like lay in the cut and start collecting more information throughout the semester on what you see. So it'd be like, yeah, that person was at the internship rally too. So that means that they probably are going to do it. And I saw that person had a U of H lanyard. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to transfer to school with me as well. So you start collecting those details passively. You can even ask another person if they know this person or what they're doing, but you're not coming right up to them. If you survive that initiation phase, if you don't see anything that's a red flag that tells you don't want to engage with this person at all, or there's nothing that's keeping you from moving forward, then the forward or the up, the next stage is experimenting. And when we're in experimentation, now we have officially engaged the other person very likely. So when we say that we're discovering common ground with the person, that is usually during small talk or just little, so are you from around here? Do you go to U of H too? Oh yeah, I'm going to transfer there at this time. And so you're just talking about stuff and you're just finding out information about that person that's on that breadth level that we discussed. So just regular stuff that's not deep, private, and intimate, that this person is likely loath to share, but they're okay with the concept of sharing. And you kind of go through stuff. Now, this experimentation phase can stop instantly. You can say, hi, how are you? And that person can say, oh, no, I'm not making any new friends. I'm not here to make friends. Please don't talk to me again. Okay, never mind. Or you can say hi to that person and say, hi, good morning. And that person can say, hi, good morning. And their breath is like coming all out of their mask and it's going to send your eyebrows. And you'll be like, okay, I'm doing fine. Thank you. I'll never talk to that person again because obviously they got something hot going on in their life. Or you can find out the person says something really ugly just about themselves that you don't particularly like. All right, so what do you do for fun? Well, mainly I kick puppies, but if there are no puppies available, then I'll just kick cats. And I like to, just go out and watch animals suffer. You do what now? First of all, I'm calling the authorities. And secondly, we'll never speak again. So if there's experimentation going on and it feels like, to use the idiomatic expression, that you're pulling teeth, maybe that person doesn't have any like big red flag that's saying that you shouldn't talk to them, but they're not keeping up with the conversation. So are you from around here? Mm-hmm. Cool. I'm from Acres Homes. Where are you from? South. Okay. Alrighty. So do you have a lot of brothers and sisters? Mm-mm. Well, I have 4 brothers. Do you have any siblings at all? Yeah. Oh, okay, but not a lot then. So what's your major? Undecided. You're like, all right, so you don't want to talk to me, or you don't know how to talk to me, or you don't prefer it. And again, your professor's pushy. I'll ask, I'll say, hey, I'm trying to be in your business and get to know you. I was hoping since we had classes together, we could hang out or at least exchange notes. But if I'm bothering you, let me know, and then that person may say to you, oh, I'm a non-native speaker of English, or I'm really, really shy, or your breath, Professor Rayner, oh my goodness, or whatever it is. Okay, so that person can tell you why it is that they're not really responding, or maybe that person really just doesn't want to kick it with you like that. And so you can stop right there. Okay, so maybe we're not going any further and you're not experimenting with this person and seeing if you have common ground. But let's say that the conversation went well. This person is going to transfer to U of H. They are in the same program that you're in. It seems like you do both like some of the same music, you grew up in the same side of town, and you speak the same home language. All of it is going swimmingly, and it looks like you're going to make a new friend. This is when the guns start concerning you. That third step, that's called intensifying, is the first right and true interpersonal relationship step. And when we say it's an interpersonal relationship step, it puts the two previous into the realm of impersonal communication. Because initiating, you may never even speak to that person. You may never even get to hi and goodbye. You may have just looked at that person in class, decided that it wasn't looking like it was a possible friendship for you, and then you went about your day. Experimenting, maybe you said hello and goodbye to this person, you looked for some details about them, but that wasn't really going anywhere. They didn't come back to class, but you didn't know them well enough to put out an Amber Alert or really to notice or care that they didn't come back to that class. However, in intensification, now we know that we are a we in some way, even if we're just classroom friends or we're work friends or we're associates that will save each other a seat in class or that will tell you if the professor was late the day before. So we have an awareness that we are officially connected in some type of relationship. And when it says here that we are starting to lay the ground rules, think about whether we are starting to develop, if this is a relationship that will likely be platonic entirely, meaning that there is not going to be a romantic interest that is attached to this relationship. Is it something that takes place just in work or school for right now? Do we exchange phone numbers? Are we texting each other? Can I text you another class and tell you what's going on in this class? If there's someone that's looking for you in this class, can I tell them where I think that you are based on the schedule that I know that you have? So intensification means that we know that we're a we. So we know that we're at least friendly associates. We know that there's a romantic interest. We know that we're going to see each other tomorrow. Okay, that we remember when we met each other. We know that we're sharing a present together, and we think that we'll see each other, the next day. And if we survive that, and do we have any questions or comments so far? Anyone have anything for the first three stages? The first two are impersonal, initiating and experimenting, and our first right and true interpersonal stage is intensifying. Anyone have any questions or comments? All right, next we have integrating, and now the we that we have is a we for sure. Now we have a label. We're best friends, or this is my work wife or work husband. We are definitely the awesome twosome that is in biology class together. We are doing things that make our social units unique, such as using nicknames or pet names for each other. So if this person met you as Michael, then you were saying at this point, hey, all my family calls me Mike and my close friends call me Mike. You can call me that. And you're like, so can I call you Mike? Well, you can call me Mike. Well, can I call you baby? Yeah, you can call me baby, I guess, if you want to. All right, so we have the concept of now we're in it. Okay, so we know what type of together we're in. And we start, when we say integrating, we become integrated in each other's lifestyles. So when this person says, I'm leaving work and I'm going to the house, you know what work is. You know about what that person does at work. You know about what part of town that is in and how long it's going to take them to get to that house, where that house is, who else lives there, and probably what the wallpaper looks like or what it smells like up in there. So when we're integrating, we can grab the dry cleaning for this other person on the way home. We can drop the little brother off to softball practice or baseball practice. We are going to understand that we are doing something this weekend. What are we doing? Are we going to the concert? Are we going to go see this movie? So there's a lot of we that's going on in integration. And we expect that the other people that are in our social parameters know this too. So other people that are already in our friendship groups or our family know that this person exists or know that there is a such thing as a +1. So if they invite you to a wedding, for instance, they might know that if this is a romantic partner, that this person can also be on the list, or even a best friend. They can say, do you want to bring somebody with you? Maybe you bring Shelly, if you want to bring somebody too. So integrating means that we're helping each other out, and the relationship is really flipping entirely from we're trying to settle on what we are to we are officially a whatever this thing is. And then the final stage is bonding. And bonding is a formal commitment that is made publicly to let everybody on the planet know, and even to establish legally sometimes, we are together. So usually we have some sort of public ritual, or we have a turning point if there's not a public ritual available. For example, if we're in a romantic relationship and we wish to engage in any starting place monogamy, it doesn't mean that we have to remain monogamous, but if we want to solidify these two people into a civil or religious contract, then we'll have a wedding if we're eligible to do that. But please understand, and I had to explain to my daughters, and I didn't realize that I wasn't teaching history correctly. They didn't realize it. They are too young to have remembered a time without the existence of same-sex marriage, and did not until they got into their classroom and their history book will say, wait a minute, so everybody couldn't always get married? No, everybody couldn't always get married. And if you want to go even further than that, if we're talking about miscegenation, not every race could marry every race. Not everybody could get married. So it wasn't just a such thing as everyone being able to do the public ritual of getting married if they're in a romantic partnership. And then some people don't even want to. So they will have commitment ceremonies, or they will have, some sort of bond, or they'll do something that way. But what of our best friendships? What do we do when we're best friends? We're probably not going to go to an altar together at the church and solidify ourselves as best friends forever. But instead, we could share a pack of hair, or we could get matching tattoos, or you could stand in this person's quince and then in their wedding, and then their child can have your middle name, and then you'd be godmother to that child. So we have other things that give you a bond in friendship paradigms. And usually those are more textural and situational. For example, with a romantic relationship, some of the same things can happen as a platonic relationship, because hopefully, although Tony told us that we're in totally separate buckets, hopefully you're also friends with that person that you're in a romantic relationship as well. And so you can say, yes, when this person that was close to me passed away, my romantic partner was there for me. He bought a plane ticket. He came with me. He was with my side, by my side. He wiped my tears. He helped me go through this thing. And that was really kind of a turning point in our relationship when I knew that, this was the one, and I love this person, and he loved me, and we were going to be together. In a friendship, those things can be very similar as well. So you can take that. So the bond actually happened around this person's funeral, but now you're going to publicly ritualize that by getting married. But in a friendship, usually the bond stops there. You will say, I knew my best friend was my best friend when I got really, really sick, and she held my hair when I threw up, and she checked on me the next day, and she came and she brought me soup, and she was like, don't worry about what the haters say. We got this together. And, she defended me in front of this person when I wasn't even in the room. And then when this person got ill, she was right there with me, and she couldn't buy a plane ticket, but, she did send flowers, and she did this and she did that. I know that's my best friend. Okay, great. So you've already solidified that bond, and you've made it there. We have to understand, in order to get to the bonding stage, we have to end up what we call idiomatically on the same page, or in communication, kind of on the same stair step at some point. And we don't have a time limit for any of them. Let's recap them, and then I will give some time or space for questions or comments, and then we'll talk about time limits. So in order, from the bottom up: initiation, experimentation, intensification, integration, and bonding. And we gave the guns for intensifying, because we said that's officially when we are a we, and we know that there's some kind of we that's going on, and we start truly being interpersonal to one another. And then when we go further for integrating, we start being a helper in the lives of the other person. And then when we bond, we let everybody know. Everybody's on notice that it's real, that we're together, we're best friends, or we're really close friends. And so other people know not to say anything bad about this person in front of you, or that you will defend them, or they know because of this ring that Emily's going to get, or because of this cohabitation that you're doing, that you're living with this person, that's your best friend, or that's your romantic partner. Questions or comments about any of the stages of coming together, or their hallmarks of activity, meaning the things that kind of how we know which stage that we're in. Anyone have anything at all? All righty, when we get to bonding, we talked just very briefly on how much time that we spend on these. Have y'all ever met people that are involved in romantic relationships and they've been dating for like 12 years and people are like, why don't you just get married? Or they're dating for like 25 years. Are people that have been friendly with another, or they count themselves as friends, but they won't pull the trigger and just say they're best friends. Say, is that your best friend? Well, I mean, I guess. I don't know. I don't really say anybody's my best friend. God is my best friend. Like, okay, cool. Is God going to take you to the airport though? Because your best friend is the one that's always at that raggedy airport every time you have to go out of town for business. I'm just saying, okay, maybe that person's doing that job on earth on behalf of, maybe that's what's happening. Not to blaspheme, but just to think the concept of an ambassador that's helping you out. And so some people don't want to call it that because once we get that title, once we get the label, then there's stuff that goes along with it. So if you just call somebody at work and say, hey, I've got this problem, then that person at work is going to be like, man, I'm so sorry to hear that. You want me to transfer you to HR? But if you call that person that's like your main work friend, that's like your work wife or your work husband, or that person's going to ride for you, and that person will say, okay, I'm not going to tell the boss. Don't worry. I'm going to cover for you. I'm going to push this button and I'm going to send you an Uber right quick so you can get here by the time of the meeting. Okay, now we're solving problems. We're doing it. Okay, so we're bonded in that way. And it takes some people a long time to get there. And then sometimes we have what we call fast friends. So people just instantly connect with each other, just start really going hard. You met this person on Fremont Street in Vegas. Hi, how are you? And in 24 hours, now this person has your last name. What is it? Okay, yeah, we just got married. We just did what? You don't even know this person. Hakuna Matata. All right, we're just going forward. We're just doing it. All right, so we can have a difference. And some people are like speeding through these levels. And then some people are there for like 120 years, still trying to figure out if this person is actually their friend or not. Okay, what they're going to do. On next class, we'll start at that exact same stage of bonding. And the way that this stair-step approach is put forth is how it is in the book as well. So I've replicated it herein. But what we teach in speech communication is really that bonding is the apex or the top of the mountain for both the stages of coming together and the stages of coming apart. So it's not that bonding and differentiation are parallel. They're not supposed to really be sitting next to each other. But once we've bonded, then we start with differentiation, meaning that we want to have kind of a self associated. We spend a whole lot of time wanting to be a we and ours and making sure that we're bonded. But differentiation means to us that we want to kind of have some of the I back, or we want to do stuff that's just for one partner that's in the group. And if we don't talk through that, communicate it wisely, and make sure that every partner is comfortable, then we go down to circumscribing. And that circum means there's going to be a cut. And herein, it means that there's going to be a level of reduction in both quantity and quality of communication specifically. So that means we're going to talk to each other less, and the things that we're going to talk about are going to be less satisfactory. Now, some of these things so far are normal. If you spend a whole lot of time being a we, and now you want to just go hoop with your friends, or just go get your nails done by yourself, or go hang out with your old friends that are, making fun of you because it seems like you're getting brand new and only hanging out with these other people, that's completely and totally normal, as long as that's really what you want to do and you communicate it to your partner that, hey, this is not about getting away from you. This is just about me talking to my other friends as well and having some things that are, just kind of for me. Okay, as long as everybody's cool with it, then you're Gucci and everything is fine. But if at least one person in the relationship has a problem with it, we can devolve into circumscribing, which means that person's going to be like, oh, okay, cool. So you just want to go out with your little friends and hang out with them? Fine. And then you come in the door and you say, hey, we had a good time. I don't want to hear about it, because if you wanted me to hear about it, you wouldn't have invited me. So no, that stays over there. Don't tell me about it. I don't want to hear about it. But also it can be just a natural ordination from, let's say they were cohabitating, and so now we have to talk about bills, which are not pleasant, or we're raising a child together and we have to have those difficult parenting conversations, or let's say that child is a dog or a cat and we have to figure out who's going to walk it, who's going to feed it, how much this is going to cost. If we are taking our best friend to the airport and the best friend never wants to pay for gas, like those are things that are normal. Just based on how long we've been friends, we're likely going to bump into each other with things that are circumstantial, and that circumscribing can happen. So hopefully we can triage that and say to one another, hey, I know life is boring because we're talking about taking out the trash and who's going to feed the dog and who's mowing the lawn, but let's create some cool space to talk about something. Let's watch a television show together. Let's go to the movies. Let us go to a pottery class. Let's do something that gives us something more pleasant to talk about to kind of counter all of those things that are kind of whack. And if we don't make it through there, then we can enter into stagnation. And when something is stagnant, it is stoic, it is just static, it's not moving, it is just sitting there. And so we are kind of avoiding communication. We don't want to talk about the stuff that is bad, so we don't talk about anything at all. It's like we're kind of, if we do talk, we're having the same argument, we're talking about the same thing over again, and nothing is really changing. So no one is really moving their personality or their actions around to accommodate the other person, and nothing is moving. This is when it starts getting scary hours just a little bit, because when we're involved in stagnation, if we feel like we're not going anywhere, progressing, one person may be completely and totally fine with that. They may be fine with only arguing about these same 3 things. They may be fine with seeing the same people, going to the same places, being involved in the same stuff. And then the other person may be like, I want some new stuff. I want to at least dead these 3 arguments. Let's argue about something fancy and new. Let's get something different. And if we don't communicate out of that and kind of find out what the disagreements are rooted in that we can solve, then we can go into avoidance. And just as I gave you the guns for intensification to say that this is the one that is the first interpersonal stage, avoidance is when the relationship is really close to going through dissolution for real. So once we're avoiding each other, it's not like circumscribing where we're just avoiding sort of the conversation with one another. But in avoidance, we're avoiding the relationship itself, like someone who's single only for the weekend or for this one night, or makes an exception to whatever sort of relationship rule that you've made. So let's say that this person says, I don't want you, going out with your coworkers and drinking after work. That's something that I really don't want a partner that does that. And you say, okay. And then this person makes you upset, and suddenly that rule is bent just a little bit. Well, I'll go. I don't necessarily have to have a drink. And then after you're there for an hour, okay, well, I guess I'll just have one. That's it. And so you're avoiding not only the person, but the rules too. You don't want to be in the room with this person. You don't want to do what you decided as a relationship will engage satisfaction. And then we'll start our next classes with The Terminator. So if you have a chance to watch the old school Terminator from 1984, I don't know if it's on Netflix or what, but look at Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, and you'll see a vastly different outcome, and it matches what we title this in relationships as well, because termination means it's done. We have to close out that role in the relationship and open up expectations for the future. Questions or comments about absolutely anything that we have discussed in class on today? And I know that I kept you a little bit long, so apologies for being a couple minutes over. Questions or comments about anything? Anybody have anything at all before we end the recording and dismiss class? All right, thank you very much. We'll get this